attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to this National PTA webinar, where you'll learn about Access from AT&T, a digital access program being offered to SNAP-eligible family members in 21 states across the country. Before we get started, I want to review the functionality of GoToWebinar. Right now I have everyone on mute except for the presenter. You will use this icon in the control panel to raise your hand when our presenter asks a question or to indicate that you have a question or comment. You can also enter a question or comment in the question box shown here throughout the presentation. We'll leave time for question and answers at the end of this presentation. So now I would like to introduce the speaker for today, Norma Fernandez, Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships at Everyone On. Norma is going to review what Access from AT&T is and how you can enroll today. So Norma, I'm going to turn the presentation over to you now.
Great, thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Okay, now let me just set this up for everyone to see this. Wonderful. Let's get started. We are thrilled to be co-hosting this webinar for you all on the Access from AT&T program. I'd like to introduce myself. Thank you, Heather, for that brief introduction. Again, my name is Norma Fernandez. I'm with Everyone On, and I am the Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships. Our goal today is to share information about the AT&T program that is for families and individuals that are eligible, and I'll talk about that in a second. And most importantly, we're also here to talk to you about how you could share this information with your families and your students. Before we jump in, I'd like to briefly introduce you to Everyone On. We are a national nonprofit working to ensure all people have access to the internet at home. We know that cost is a barrier, or one of the primary barriers to connectivity, and that is why we work with diverse internet service providers, both cable and wireless, to make available their affordable offers on our Offer Locator tool, which I'll talk about now. We actually have created this tool, which lives on our website, is also a text message service, an interactive voice response system, and most recently a mobile app. Through each of these tools, individuals can enter their zip code, answer an eligibility question, and find low-cost offers, and actually computers as well in their respective communities. But I like to say that where the real magic happens is at the local level through our regional managers, network of organizations, and most importantly, school partners such as you. One of the internet service providers we're currently collaborating with is AT&T. As you know, they launched their Access from AT&T program last year, actually in April 2016, and Everyone On, as well as the National PTA, were two of their several partners focused on doing outreach and driving awareness and enrollment in the program. The Access from AT&T program provides a low-cost option for home internet for eligible families in AT&T's 21-state footprint. And here you'll see just some basic specifications, which could also be found online. But here we thought we'd highlight some important details when it comes to the program. Here you'll see what speeds are available in the program. There are currently 5 tiers, and it really is based on the infrastructure or network that's available at the respective address. So you'll see here that AT&T, once the application is approved, will assign a speed of either 10 megabits per second, 5.3, 1.5, or 768 bits per second, whichever, again, is fastest at the address. The price points are listed here as well. It could be up to $10, for the highest speeds, and $5 for the next tier of speeds. And then here's too, you'll see what data allowance is available to the address. What's really neat about the program is that it does come with the equipment at no cost, which is really great, as I mentioned. And it is a Wi-Fi modem, so multiple devices could be connected at home. That can include a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, cell phones, And also what's really neat about this opportunity is that folks who are participating in Access also have access to AT&T's Wi-Fi hotspot network across the country, and it is included with the cost. I do want to highlight that, again, there's no installation fee, so people won't be charged for someone going out to install the modem if it's needed. There's no modem fee or cost of equipment, and there's no term commitment for qualifying households. So how do folks qualify for this? So this is really key. I think when you're thinking about your outreach efforts and your families and who may be eligible for this program, you should definitely be thinking about these eligibility criteria. Number one is that at least one individual in the household must participate in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, also known as food benefits. In California, it's considered CalFresh. And so it doesn't matter if the applicant isn't the participant of the SNAP program, as long as one member in the household. So that could be grandma, that could be aunts, anybody living in the household must be receiving SNAP. And they do need to show proof of that. In California only, and I do want to call this out, households that are participating in SSI or Supplemental Security Income may also qualify. And again, this is only exclusive to California. And for sure, the applying household must be in one of the service areas that is across 21 states, and I'll show you a map in just a few minutes or seconds. And lastly, a household that is applying must not have any previous debt for internet service within the last 6 months with AT&T. I do want to share here that if there is a family or a household that has internet service currently with AT&T, they are eligible for this program as long as they meet the eligibility of a SNAP participation in the household, and they can transfer over from one program to the other. This is a 4-year program that started last year in 2016, and so folks do have an opportunity to sign up from anywhere from last year until 4 years from now. So I'd like to just show you the map here. These are the 21 states where Access is currently available. It is important to note, though, however, that service is actually determined when the application process starts. So even though we may see that Nevada is part of the footprint here, doesn't necessarily mean there is service at every single zip code or every single household. That's why it's really important that folks start the application by entering their address in order to determine if service is available. And speaking about the application or enrollment process, there are multiple ways that families could start their application. One is online. The application is available on AT&T's website. I'll share that with you at the end, and I'll actually walk you through what that looks like online as well. But they can submit their application online. If they do want to submit their application online, it's important to have their verification of eligibility available. So let's say with SNAP, they have either their card, their food stamp card, or they could have their eligibility letter with them available. They should snap a picture of it and be able to upload it onto the website in order to submit the application and get the process started. Folks also have an opportunity to download the application, so they do need to go on to the website first, start the process. They could print it, and they could complete it back at home and either mail it in or fax it in. They could also email it in. And then lastly, on the website for the program, there's a phone number, customer service phone number that folks could use in order to get the application started. It will be mailed to their house, and they could complete the process by mailing back the application with the SNAP verification back to AT&T. And this is what the enrollment process looks like. I sort of see these in two parts, the enrollment process and then the activation process. So one of the, as I mentioned earlier, the first step that families need to take is to check service availability. And that is done on the website or by calling in and sharing their address with an AT&T representative to confirm that there's actual service at their respective address so that they can continue with the application process. Step 2 is to apply. So the family received confirmation or initial confirmation that there's service available to their household, they should submit their application. And whether they submit it online or via mail or email, they do need to include SNAP verification. This is a very important step. We don't want to delay their approval process if families are not submitting the appropriate verification documents. So let's say they've gone through the application process, they've submitted their application and the documents. In order to activate their service, they will receive a letter from AT&T confirming that indeed there's service at their address. The family will need to call AT&T to activate their account and service, and followed by that they will receive the equipment and the instructions from AT&T, and they could hook it up and they could start surfing the web. Folks do have the option, if they don't feel comfortable installing the modem on their own, although it's very simple and it comes with clear instructions, they may request assistance at no cost to them. And I do want to say that this information comes in multiple languages, and I'll talk about that when we get to the resource section. But if they want to do the application in English, or they need, if you speak another language, they could certainly call the AT&T customer service line and receive that assistance needed. So I do want to bring up the application. Let me close out the presentation and go to my other screen here. So this is the website for AT&T's program access. This is what people will look at when they jump online or when you help them get there. Very clear instructions and additional information. Here on the right, when scrolling over, are the different tiers of speeds and the cost for that. On the left-hand side here, it talks about what's needed in order to qualify. And then, of course, it covers what the steps are like. So just as I covered, we need to check that there's, or AT&T needs to check that there's service at your household, enter your address, and once that's initially confirmed, you could apply for the program and you can find the multiple resources here. That's what the application looks like, at least to begin. And then here are some additional resources, both for you and for your families. A lot of facts here. So people ask, can I apply for the program at a local store, for example? What do you mean by wired home internet service? So there are numerous questions here to help people guide their decision whether or not they're eligible and whether or not they're interested in actually applying. Let me go back to the presentation. And of course, we will take questions at the end, or you could jot them down in the chat box. Okay, great. So our goal at Everyone On is to drive awareness and enrollment. We're currently working with schools, nonprofits, public housing authorities, and other organizations to really drive that awareness. I'd like to share a few examples of how to drive awareness and enrollment. Of course, you know your families best and know how to effectively get the word out. So we hope these are helpful as you start to think about informing your families about access from AT&T. One example here is to distribute collateral. This is something that we're highly encouraging schools to consider because we find it to be very effective, especially as we're coming into the new school year in a few months, and schools are preparing to send out their packets for the National School Lunch Program. This is a perfect opportunity to include collateral about access from AT&T. And the beauty of this is that AT&T is making collateral available to schools and other organizations that are interested in doing this type of outreach effort. So if your school or your district is interested in doing this, you could reach out to us, and I'll share my contact information at the end to request your collateral in multiple languages in order to really get the word out about the program. So this is something, as I mentioned, that we highly encourage. Multiple schools across the country have done this. They share the information out with their families, and most effectively through the National School Lunch Program mailing. And actually, I did include here our email. You can reach out to us through this email in order to request collateral. Another example is to engage key staff. So if you're thinking about your outreach efforts and you want to make sure they're effective and that they actually impact your families, we highly encourage you to think about who are the leaders, who are the volunteers and parents at your school or in your network that you can leverage in order to spread the word. So of course it includes PTA volunteers, and then you can think about also community liaisons at the school or at the district level, social workers and others that come into contact with students and families and that you think may be great in order to also share the word with them so that they could help you spread the information. Leveraging technology initiatives, we have found that this is another great way in order to inform families about the offer. Many schools, and maybe your school, is planning for distributing computers, whether they're laptops or tablets, to their students next school year. Oftentimes schools host events in order to bring the parents together and talk to them about the program and also distribute the devices. This is a perfect opportunity to not just distribute collateral, but also even host on-site enrollment events where you could help families on-site to enroll in the program. This is actually a technology event with Pomona Unified School District in California. This was before the AT&T program. However, they were distributing iPads to their students, and everyone was on site to help families sign up for another internet offer before AT&T came on board. So again, this is another great strategy that you could leverage in order to help families get connected at home, especially if they're going to be receiving devices and don't have internet service at home. And of course, leveraging other types of events. So maybe it's not a technology deployment event, but maybe you're having your back to school night, parent orientation, resource fairs. There are multiple schools that have reached out to us as we're doing outreach to schools that invite us out to their events. And unfortunately, we can't be out at everyone's events, but you all as PTA volunteers and staff are there at your schools. You're the perfect leaders and volunteers in order to do this. So think about the different events in the coming school year that your school and district will be hosting and how you could tap into them in order to do outreach and distribute information about the program. And then when it comes to enrollment, you keep hearing me probably say enrollment events. We find these to be an effective strategy. So of course we're about informing the family about the offer, but most importantly we want to make sure that they're really taking advantage of it. One of the ways to do that is to host an enrollment workshop. So here I've outlined some key components of what to think about and consider as you're planning hopefully an on-site enrollment event. So again, we're about informing families, but we're also about facilitating subscription into an internet service, especially one like AT&T that's affordable and accessible to many families. So who should you be thinking about when you're going to be planning this? Well, you want to think about your students and families that are eligible for SNAP. If you're in California, it could also include families or households that are eligible for SSI. So one way to determine that may be to consider your National School Lunch Program participants. They may also meet the criteria for SNAP. How do you host an enrollment event? Well, we talked about engaging key staff. That includes your parent involvement coordinators, community liaisons, definitely PTA. You could also actually engage student leadership. Oftentimes they have to do hours, or they belong to a certain club that requires them to do community service, or maybe they're really interested in community service. So think about those different folks that you can leverage and engage to help with enrollment. And when do you want to host an enrollment event? So I talked about this a few slides back. You can think about your technology deployment events, existing resource events, or back to school nights. What's really critical here when you're planning these enrollment events is to make sure that families are aware that this is taking place that day. So you want to help get the word out beforehand as much as you can so that families can prepare to actually apply for the program on site. where could you possibly host this? So you could ideally host it in a computer lab so that you have access to computers or other devices that you could use in order to walk families through the application process. Or, you know, if you're just going to distribute information, you could also have phones available. People could look at the information on site, and hopefully they'll want to call on site as well to start the application process at least. And then what you'll need computers, printers in case you need to print program information, or actually the program application, and flyers. So this is just a snapshot of what an enrollment event can look like at your respective school. And Heather will be sharing this webinar out with everyone afterwards, so you could go back to this if you just need to review it. And then we also want to encourage you to collaborate with us. As I mentioned earlier, we have regional managers that are our folks that are in these markets. They are our staff that works closely with a variety of organizations. And so if there is an overlap, if you are in one of these cities, in one of these states, and you'd like to consider hosting an enrollment event, or you want to learn more about how we could support your outreach efforts, please reach out to us. I've listed them here. These are individuals that are deeply tied to their communities. So beyond their work in Everyone On, they are personally invested in their communities. So whether or not they're able to assist you, I'm sure they would be able to direct you to other organizations or leaders that can. But again, we do want to encourage collaboration and ensuring that, with the end goal of ensuring that families are aware of the program and that they're taking advantage of it. Something that we find is that word of mouth is very powerful, as you know. And so even if you distribute the information, whether it's through the NSLP packet or you host an event, know that for every one person or family you're reaching, you're probably also hitting multiple families. So we actually have seen that that has been one of the most successful strategies here. So the more we could get out to folks, I think that it doubles and sometimes probably triples our reach. And definitely engage our regional managers as you think about your outreach efforts. I'm going to quickly walk you through our offer locator tool. In the event that you forget for whatever reason, I hope you don't, but where to find this information on AT&T's website, you could always use our offer locator tool. Again, it's everyoneon.org. Folks could also use the text message tool, the interactive voice response system, and the mobile app, but this is probably the easiest, especially if you're sitting down with the family, for example, and you remember, oh, they may be eligible for AT&T. Let's walk through the Everyone On website. Enter their zip code. You answer the eligibility question here. So in this case, actually, you would ask them, are you eligible for SNAP by any chance? They may say yes. You'd click on the SNAP box here. You click View Offers, and we would show you the Access from AT&T offer here with all the information. And you would simply click Enroll Online. It'll take you to the AT&T website where you could start the application process. It's a neat tool. In addition, I do want to share that we also work with national computer refurbishers, and we make available their low-cost devices on our website. So if you have families that need devices at home, this is another resource that you could share with them. We also share where there may be local computer training locations in their respective community. Okay, now to the resources. So this is very important. These are links that are available to everyone, and we'd like to encourage you to visit them. Number one, this is actually the Access Partners page where you can find collateral in multiple languages, including flyers, leaflets, other posters, for example, if you wanted to print. These are for printing online, for printing wherever you are. So you do have that available. There are other resources available on that site, as well as Digital U. AT&T has developed a great site for individuals, for organizations, with tons of training resources. I highly encourage you to look at this, and you may also consider sharing it with your families at your schools and other leaders. I think it's a wonderful website, as I said, with information about how to best leverage the internet at home through computer training, how to find employment online, for example. It's a great site. Also, of course, is the access from AT&T site. That's the one that I showed you earlier, where you'll find everything related to the offer and the application. And last but not least, everyoneon.org. And again, if you want to request collateral specifically for your National School Lunch Program packets, you can reach out to us at support@everyoneon.org, and we're happy to process that for you. And here I just list that website or our email again. If you want to learn more about AT&T, you could visit the program website. And we'd love to hear from you. I'm sure Heather would also love to hear from you, what you're thinking about doing, and ultimately what you do come the 2017-2018 school year. Anything that we could share with you beforehand, if you're planning an outreach effort or an enrollment effort, please feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to provide guidance, and especially if we have a regional manager in your market, definitely want to help support you there as well. And that's my information if you want to reach out to me.
Norma, this was a great presentation. Thank you so much. I do have some questions that have come in, and again, to remind the audience, please feel free to submit your questions in the question box. Let me just get to the question slide here. And so I have some questions that have come in, Norma, some of which may be a repeat for you, but I think it's great for the webinar attendees to hear it as many times as they can if you don't mind. So the first question is payment required when people enroll?
That is a good question, and payment is not required when people enroll because you actually don't activate your service until you receive that first confirmation letter from AT&T notifying you that you have service at your household and that you've met the eligibility criteria. And so it's actually not until probably after the first month that you have service that you will be billed.
Okay, and then every month is online payment required by the participants?
Online payment is one of the options. Folks could also mail in, like any other bill or bill from AT&T, they could also mail in their payment. And if I'm not mistaken, folks could also pay in the store. Okay. And if Gabe's online, he could probably confirm that or not.
Gabe is on the line. I just unmuted you, Gabe. Do you want to confirm Norma's answer?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. I don't think you can pay in the store, but online and mail, what Norma mentioned is accurate. I'm not exactly sure about the in-store one. I'll have to double check, and I can certainly provide an answer to you via email.
Great.
But I'll double check on that.
Great. Thanks, Gabe. Okay, and then the next question, Norma, would you mind reviewing again what equipment is needed at home? What do people need to have in their homes in order to get this access?
Sure. So once you receive the confirmation letter from AT&T that they're a service, you actually don't need any equipment. They will send you the modem, which is Wi-Fi enabled. So they'll send you the equipment, which is at no cost, that you could set up in your household in order to begin surfing the web.
Great. And then would you mind reviewing again, how long does this deal last? So if someone signed up this month, how long would their service, would this deal last?
Sure, and actually every year they do need to verify that they are continue to be eligible. So let's say you do apply this, if your family applies this month, come next year, May, the family would need to confirm that they are a participant, they continue to be a participant of SNAP or SSI if they're in California. It is a program for 4 years that started last year. So beginning this year, you have 3 years of service.
Got it. Okay. And then how does someone get out of it if they either change status or want to bump up to more internet? How do you get out of the access from AT&T contract?
Sure. So that's a good question. I think if you are no longer a participant of SNAP, or that person that was living in your household is no longer a participant of SNAP or SSI, you do need to inform AT&T that you're no longer eligible. So you could call them. I would say that would probably be the best method to do that in order to probably select another program within AT&T that you're eligible for and would be interested in doing.
Okay. I'm gonna continue to fire these questions off at you. You're doing great. So if my PTA wanted to host an enrollment event, what would we need to have on site again? And then I'll just add on to this, Norma. I know some questions I've gotten is some people want to host events outside. Is that possible, or is it best that these enrollment events are inside in a computer lab or with computer access?
Ideally, you would have some sort of device on site. So obviously, it's harder to move desktops outside, and you do need Wi-Fi in order to access the application since it's web-based. So if you do host it outside, think about perhaps using laptops or tablets that actually may be available at the school to use. And as long as you have Wi-Fi connectivity and a device, you're able to just help families get connected or start the application process.
So there.
So other things to.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Heather.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, other things to consider is having flyers. So just in case you lose Wi-Fi connectivity, make sure you have the flyers available so that people can take home with them. I would say that's the main thing, having the collateral available at all times.
Okay, so there isn't a paper application, or people can't print that online application, PTAs that are interested in hosting enrollment events, and then people can just complete the application and mail it in. It has to be done online.
No, actually, there isn't. Well, let me take a step back. There isn't a paper application available now. However, you can print the application from the website and hand it out to families. So that is something to consider. If you don't have the capacity or the time to actually walk people or every single person in attendance through the application process, you could at least start the first step, which is to check service availability, and if it's confirmed, then you could print the application, hand it to the family. They could take it back home with them and complete it and mail it in.
Got it. Okay. Okay, that's great. And then how long does the application take to complete typically?
Sure. If folks come prepared with their verification of eligibility, so whether it's their SNAP card or their eligibility letter, that makes it a lot easier to just complete the process on site. So if, let's say they do come prepared with that, it shouldn't take no more than 10 minutes.
Okay, terrific. And then the last question, so the collateral that you mentioned, does everyone provide hard copies of that collateral, or is that website you mentioned just where people can go and download the collateral themselves as needed?
So there's two sources here. One is the Access Partners page. Anyone can access that. Any organization can access that. They have access to the flyers and some other collateral that's printable. However, if a school is interested in doing a massive mailing, specifically through their National School Lunch Program, that's when they can reach out to Everyone On at support@everyoneon.org in order to request that printing collateral.
Wow.
We don't make it available. It's through AT&T, but we help facilitate that.
Wow. And is there a max number of copies that you all would be willing to provide to a PTA?
You know what, that's a good question. I don't think we've had a maximum shared with us, I don't think a request has been denied based on the number. And we know that, especially if a school district is considering including the collateral in the National School Lunch Mailing program, that it's going to be beneficial. So I would say no at this time.
Okay, great. That is all of the questions that have come in. I want to give, does anyone have any additional questions? Anything that wasn't covered? We always get asked the question if this webinar is being recorded, and yes, it is. I meant to mention that at the beginning. We will distribute it and the slides after. It'll be available on PTA's YouTube channel, on the digital access page that we created at pta.org/digital access, and then again, I'll email it directly to the people that have registered so that everyone has it. And then I'm also going to send the recording out to each of the state presidents in the 25 qualifying states so that they have it and they can get it down to the local level. So this will be distributed widely. I'm predicting on Monday once I have time to download it and send it out. Okay, so Norma, it doesn't look like there are any additional questions. I don't know if you have any final thoughts, or if not, I just wanted to thank you again for your time and your expertise and for this service that you're providing. It's really wonderful, and to Gabe as well. I think the training and the kind of the deep dive that you did combined with just the actual program access from AT&T, it's such a value to our parents. It's a way to help them stay engaged with the school, with their child's learning. It's a way to help kids learn much more easily outside of schools, many of which are moving to full digital environments. So we're thrilled to be partnering with AT&T on this, and we're really excited to have made the connection with you, Norma. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather. And I do want to just end by encouraging everyone to reach out to us. If indeed you saw there's an overlap in regional managers at your respective communities or markets, feel free to engage us. We'd love to, as I said earlier, to support your outreach and enrollment efforts.
Great, Norma. Thanks so much. Well, this concludes the
thank
webinar. And thanks, everyone, for your interest and participation, and have a great rest of the day.